he will surely violently turn and toss thee like a ball into a large country. Giving all the praises to Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua B'Shem Rakakabash, or Kodash. It says, this is Isaiah 22 verse 18, and I'll read the whole precept. It said, he will surely violently turn and toss thee like a ball into a large country. There shalt thou die, and there the chariots of thy glory shall be the shame of thy Lord's house. This is another precept that could be used to prove that we are the Israelites, because we came over here to the Americas from Africa in cargo slave ships, which when the cargo slave ships were on the sea in the Middle Passage, you had rough waters at times, so the boat would go like if you take a ball, an inflated ball inflated with air, and you put it on in the water, it's not going to go underwater. It's going to stay atop the water, and when the waves come, the ball will go go up, go down, shaking, turn around. So that's how the ships came over here. Anyway, so what I did was I went to the commentary, which is a Bible Hub, and I put in Isaiah 22 verse 18 commentary. And the first commentary that I went to, which shows you either they know, the scholars, the biblical scholars know that this is talking about slave ships in the Middle Passage of the triangular slave trade going to the Americas, coming from Europe, going to the western coast of Africa, as you can see on the picture, then going to the Americas and coming back to Europe. And the slave trade out of Europe started right around the 1500s. So we're talking about people that were cast into slave ships lived the same time as Christopher Columbus. So this is Revelation the 20th chapter coming to pass, where it says they were loosened for a little season. So when they were loosened for a little season, because they were shackled with a chain for 1,000 years, pursuant to Revelation the 20th chapter, the Lord took that spiritual chain off of them, and they moved. They said, look, man, and this is all spiritual, this is all fulfillment of prophecy, because the Most High had to make a great prison camp for the Israelites to punish them. They were taking down the sacking of Constantinople, Byzantium, which is now Istanbul, Turkey. These were the Europeans that took us over. So this is a fulfillment of prophecy, proving that we are the Israelites. See, these prophecies, don't fit the small hats. Anyway, I wanted to make this short, but it's going to be a little long. Let's see how long. Not too long. Anyway, it says I went to Cambridge Bible School, Bible for schools and colleges. It says 18, verse 18. The first half of the verse reads, "He will roll thee up in a bundle and toss thee like a ball into a spacious land." And if you know that you're an Israelite and you've been going through the scriptures, you'll see that. Now, you have jakes that fall off because they don't see what the scriptures say. They don't equate the scriptures with the so-called Negroes, I'll say. So they fall off because they can't see it. They lack vision. The Most High failed to open their eyes. So if you see somebody that looks like they want to leave, they don't see it, they're disenchanted, you help them leave. Help them get to walking down the street. Because we're not bending over backwards for you jakes. No more. We're not bending over backwards for you to get it. We're going to tell you that you're Israelites. We're going to go to a handful of scriptures. You're going to question some things, and we're going to suffer your questions, and we're going to do our best to wake you up in the hopes that you are one of the elect. But there'll be a time where we see that this nigga ain't one of the elect. So, you don't want to waste your time with him. And that's why I've been saying, I did a couple of videos. I recently did a video on the conscious community. The conscious community is dead. And what killed the conscious community is this whole Hebrew Israelite thing. That's what killed Shaka Amos made a statement in a video, I don't know, maybe 6 months ago. What killed the conscious community. So he obviously believes that the conscious community is either dead or dying. And the question was, what killed the conscious community is the Israelites. The Hebrew Israelite doctrine. Because there's no book in the so-called conscious community that, first of all your information you get by so-called Jews. You say, like Garfield says, that there's no such thing as Jews, they never existed, but his information, his learning came from, for the most part, so-called Jews. Now, he can correct me if he wants to. Now, he might say the Spirit came to him and showed him that there's no such thing as Israelites and there's no such thing as Edomites. Well, why don't you ask your spirits why are we in this condition and how we going to get the fuck out of this condition? And this is why we get on Captain Desariac so much, because this dude Sarnetta shits on you, then he turns around and calls you my captain, and then you go on this show, man, and that goes for a priest Dunya Allah, man. You ain't got no business going on that show, brother. You should be doing this work. You guys trying to be come off like scholars, man. Most I didn't say go on do no damn debates. Now if it hurts, then deal with it. Put a band-aid on your bruise, man. Because we here at Great Millstone, what are we known for? Constantly going out. It says in Isaiah 62, I believe. I'm not going to go to it. I believe it's Isaiah 62 4, Isaiah 62 5. Matter of fact, I'm going to read it. Let me read it. Hey, the Apostle Paul said, be instant in season, out of season. So let's go to Isaiah 62. Okay, the sixth verse. It said, I have set watchmen. The eye is referring to the Most High. I have set watchmen upon thy walls, O Jerusalem. Jerusalem is a people before it's a place which shall never hold their peace, not take breaks. You got guys, you go to their page, they ain't put up a video in 2 months or 3 weeks. You got to constantly feed the flock. This is what the true men of the Lord do. Somebody asked a question concerning Zechariah 6 verse 9 and 15, and it took me a couple of days to do it, but I wound up doing it, and the individual came back and thanked me for it. You know, he asked a question, and I said, how do you break, what does this mean? I went into it, and it edified other people. So that's our job. Jeremiah 3 verse 15. We're supposed to feed them. If you have a newborn baby and you say, I'm tired, I'm not going to feed the baby for 2 weeks, the baby's going to die. So you're leaving. When you don't do this work, you're leaving these lost Israelites, these lost souls, to die. It said, because when we do these videos, we're feeding Israel, man. The hopeful elect. I have set watchmen upon thy walls, O Jerusalem, which shall never hold their peace, never take breaks. So you guys that taking breaks, guess what? The Most High is not dealing with you. That's why you guys are teaching that the mark of the beast is something other than what GMS teaches. And GMS has always been right. GMS is correct on the breakdown of the mark of the beast. It says, which shall never hold their peace day nor night. You go to any of our pages, there's nothing but new videos popping up day and night. 3 in the morning, videos pop up. 4 in the morning, 12 noon. You might see somebody in the park doing a video, like Apostle Rhymelot. He does that in the midday. He goes out to a park. You see other individuals doing videos. And then you got brothers that watch other like myself. I'll get ideas to do a video based upon somebody else doing a video before me dealing with a particular topic, and I want to build on that topic. It says, ye that make mention of the Lord, keep not silence, no breaks, and give him no rest till he establish and till he make Jerusalem a praise in the earth, which is the kingdom. Jerusalem or Jerusalem is going to be a praise in the earth to the other nations, because we're going to teach the other nations. So now let me come back. Where did I leave off at? Okay, we're back at Cambridge Bible for Schools and Colleges, 18 verse. The first half of the verse reads, he will roll thee up in a bundle and toss thee. And that's talking about the ships, because we were shackled in the bottom of the ships. I believe that called the hull of the ships, and we were tossed in and turning. A lot of those slaves were dead. So you were alive. You're in horror, terrified, and you notice that somebody next to you is dead. So you have to smell the stench of death. Yeah, these are some real curses, man. The Most High really jacked us up. The Most High really beat us down. But now the Most High is bringing us back up, waking us up, reviving us, Hosea 6. And now it's your turn, Esau and the other nations. And Edomites, you're going to be shipped back and forth across the earth. And you're going to be working in the field. That's your reality. You're going into slavery. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints. You have UFO sightings all over the place. Now these devils, you know, their first recordings of UFOs is as far back as 1947. But they really got into it, I believe it was 1952, where you had so-called UFOs. A number of them hover over DC. So that was a message that the Most High was sending you. So we're talking about what, 70 some odd years. about 70 years. And now these UFOs are being reported more and more and more, and you can't hide them. You can't say that's a weather balloon. And then this thing that we're dealing with, the Beetlejuice, that's what I call it, and the Crown Vic Royale, and the jabs, ultimately you will receive a charagma. And we always go into that because we're in the time of that, the fulfillment of that. We're in that time. We're in that time. Like a ball into a spacious land. It says, it goes on to say, a land broad on both sides. And that's talking about America. A land broad on both sides. America is 5,000 square miles. 3,000 from east to west, and a little bit more than 2,000 from north to south. If you wanted to take a drive from, and I've driven across the country halfway, almost to the other end. I've driven to, I went from New York to Colorado, Denver, Colorado, Texas. I even went up into Canada. Drove up there with some brothers years ago. The Apostle Gabar was with me, and the Apostle Gabar, Apostle Ricard was with me at that time. And that was before Connecticut even came into the truth. It says the words and tossed there have to be, instruction is pregnant. The figure expresses banishment, right? We were banished from our land. From Yahweh, it says Jehovah, but Yahweh's territory, which is the land. We were taken from our land. The spacious land referring probably to the Assyrian Empire. It's not talking about the Assyrian Empire. It's talking about America. Now, here in the Ellicott's commentary for English readers, they say it's talking about, let's read it, like a ball into a large country. The picture is that of a ball flung violently on a smooth, even plane where it bounds on and on with nothing to stay its progress. It's talking about water. The large country, which we know through the Spirit is America, is probably the plain of Mesopotamia, where Shibna is to end his days in exile. Now, when you read through Isaiah, scholars would say it's talking about Shibna, because Shibna is mentioned in the scriptures in Isaiah, but it's actually talking about America. It's talking about America. Now, the part where it speaks about the chariots, it said, "There shalt thou die." Right, you died in America. You were put in slavery. You're dying this day. You're getting shot up by the cops. Jake is busting caps in each other. So you came here to die. You know, the scriptures speak about you shall die like men, like the princes of the earth. Psalms 82:6. Ye were gods, ye were powers, and in the kingdom of heaven, what's going to be different from us to another nation is that we will actually be gods. We will be supermen and superwomen. Our women will be on a higher level as well. They're not just going to be a regular woman, they're going to be on a higher level as well. In Krypton, was not the men and the women, did they both have superpowers? It said, there shalt thou die, and there shall be thy splendid chariots, thou shame of thy Lord's house. Meaning, and they give you references, Samuel 15:1, 1 Kings 1 verse 5, Jeremiah 17 verse 25, or 2 Samuel 15:1, 1 Kings 1 verse 5, where it speaks about them mounting up on their chariots, because that was our glory, those chariots. So now let's go from here. I hope I can find it. I'm all over the place. Anyway, I put in middle passage, right? It says, okay, I'll read this right here. Triangular trade. If you go to middle passage, Wikipedia will lead you to middle passage, and right here that you see on the screen, it says triangular trade at the bottom. Let me look up triangular trade real quick. Triangular trade is a historic term indicating trade among the ports or regions. Triangular trade usually evolves when a region has export commodities that are not required in the region from which its major imports come. Triangular trade thus provides a blah blah blah. You can read the rest. It says commercial goods, and by the way, we were commercial goods. It said commercial goods from Europe were shipped to Africa for sale and trade for enslaved Africans, which were, we know they were Israelites. And as you can see on the image right there, you can see the western coast of Africa. You can see where that triangle goes. It leaves from Europe, and this is as far back as the early 1500s. So they left from Europe. They went to Africa. They picked up slaves. They traded other items. Then they went to the Americas, and they sold slave, traded, and went back to Europe. So the whole slave trade was really something that was set up by the Europeans, which are Edomites. It says Africans were in turn brought to the regions depicted in blue. So blue is North America and South America on the East Coast. In what became known as the Middle Passage. Enslaved Africans, which are, we know that the Israelites, were then traded for raw materials, which were returned to Europe to complete the triangular trade. And they even traded with what happened was, we used to say, oh, Africans sold Israelites. Not necessarily so. It was Israelites that sold Israelites, for the most part. Now, did Hamites have a part of it? Yeah. Did the Arabs have a part of it? Yeah. Did Esau have a part of it? Yeah. So where was I going to go? Okay, let me go from there to Joel. Joel 3. Normally we start at around the 3rd verse. I'll read from the first. Joel 3 verse 1. For behold, in those days and in that time when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem. So the Most High is going to now deliver us in a dramatic way. I will also gather all nations and bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat, and will plead. The word plead, Yahweh Shaphat, plead means to bring judgment with them there for my people, the Israelites, and for my heritage Israel. It tells you who his people is. It said my people. If you don't know who his people are, the next line says, and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations. So we're literally all over the planet Earth, pursuant to Deuteronomy 28 verse 64, and parted my land. And they're over there in our land, and they're going to get blasted out of that land. It says, it goes on to say, third verse, and they have cast lots for my people, and given a boy for a harlot, and sold a girl for wine, that they may drink. So that triangular slave trade, what's the term? Let me look up the term again, I'm sorry. Triangular trade, which is this, which they didn't only trade slaves, they traded goods, and they gave goods to the tribes that sold the other tribes into slavery. Where am I at? You find this. Third verse, Joel 3 verse 3, and they have cast lots for my people, and have given a boy for an harlot, and sold a girl for wine, that they may drink. Let's come back over here to Middle Passage. It said the Middle Passage was the stage of the Atlantic slave trade, in which millions of enslaved Africans, which they were Israelites, and Esau knows this, were forcibly transported, violently. I will violently roll thee like a ball into a large country. Forced. Aina. So you can understand. The Middle Passage was the stage of the Atlantic slave trade, in which millions of enslaved Africans, which were Israelites, were forcibly transported against their will to the Americas. That's the fulfillment of what? The prophecies. Isaiah 22 verse 18, I'm sorry, as part of the triangular slave trade. It said ships departed Europe, so it started from Europe, because that's where it came from. The beast was loosened in Europe for Africans, Israelites, markets which manufactured goods. So we read that in Joel 3. Sold a girl for wine that they may drink. First side of the triangle, which were traded for slaves, Israelites, as rulers of African states were willing to capture and sell members of other tribes. It's not Jake killing himself in the streets. So if they had the opportunity, you had two rival gangs. If Esau made a deal with this gang that we want to put these guys into slavery, one gang that would take over the other gang would force them into slavery, as long as they're getting paid. Jake don't give a damn. The love of many shall wax cold. And that happened back in Africa, West Africa. It says slave ships, also known as Guinea, I think that's Guinea men. I'm not going to try to pronounce it, look it up. Transported the human cargo, which were Israelites, pursuant to Deuteronomy 28:68, Joel 3 verse 3, Isaiah 22 verse 18, transported the human cargo in wretched conditions, violently shaken like a ball to a large country, males and females separated across the Atlantic, second side of the triangle. Mortality or death was high. Those with strong bodies survived. Young females were raped by the crew. So a lot of these women that were raped, a lot of those crew members were Edomites. Some had to be Jake because they probably was of Irish descent. But a lot of these show you how Esau is not spiritual at all. They enslaved their own seed because they looked so-called black. So these stupid Edomites enslaved their own people. It said the proceeds from the sale of enslaved Africans or Israelites were then used to buy hides, tobacco, sugar, rum, and raw materials. So we were a commodity. We were a cargo, which would be transported back to northern Europe, third side of the triangle, to complete the triangle. So we don't got to read anymore. Let's go back to Joel. So you Edomites, you so-called white people, get ready for slavery. Get ready for the destruction of Babylon the Great, and for you to be shackled up in the slaves. And the first slaves we're going to get out, we're going to go right to Europe. We're going to get them right from Europe, because there's not going to be anything left in Babylon. It says, third verse, and they have cast lots for my people, and have given a boy for a harlot, and sold a girl for wine that they may drink. Fourth verse, yeah, and what have ye to do with me, O Tyre and Sidon, and all the coasts of Palestine, which are the Ishmaelites, the Arabs. Arabs meaning is Hebrew. Arab means mixed. It says, will ye render me a recompense, and if ye recompense me swiftly and speedily, will I return your recompense, pay you back on your own head. Because ye have taken my silver and my gold, and have carried into your temples my goodly pleasant things. And they did that at one time in history, during the time of Vespasian and Titus. The children also of Judah and the children of Jerusalem have ye sold unto the Grecians. The Grecians are, the word Grecian, when you click on it, the word is Yawan, which are the sons of Japhet. But these are not the sons of Japhet. These were Edomites that possessed the lands of Japhet, that ye might remove them far from their border. And we were removed far from our border. We escaped the land of Palestine, Israel, into the interiors of Africa, all the way to the west coast of Africa, and we were gathered together and brought even to a further land, a further country where never mankind dwelt. But when we got over there, you had Gad, you had Reuben, you had the other tribes. The Gadites, the Reubenites, the other tribes which look Indian, for lack of a better way of saying it, those were the Israelites. Those Israelites are already over here. It said, behold, I will raise them out of the places of America, whither ye have sold them, and will turn your recompense upon your own head. And I will sell your sons and your... So that's slavery. What does that mean? The 8th verse. And I will sell your sons and your daughters into the hand of the children of Judah. But they shall sell them to the Sabians, to a people far off, for the Lord has spoken it. Now this has yet to happen. So is slavery going to be a thing in the kingdom? You got damn right. Now the 9th verse brings it up to date, to this time period. Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war. What war? The war of Armageddon. Wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up. Beat your plowshares, farming instruments, into swords, and your pruning hooks, farm instruments, into spears. Let the weak say, I'm strong. Because what's the great equalizer? The missiles, the ICBM missiles. 11th verse. Assemble yourself and come, all ye heathen, and gather yourself together round about. Thither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Lord. The mighty ones are the angels. And when they come down, they're going to do. 13th 13 verse, put ye in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. That's also in Revelation 13 chapter. That's also Matthew's Revelation 14 chapter, and Matthew's the 13th chapter. It said the angels are going to take you tares, you Edomites, and bind you into bundles and put you in ovens, which is parabolic talk for nuclear destruction. Anyway, with that, I'm going to say shalom.